Hi, I'm Dan Krynas, host of the Leader of Learning podcast, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now. Shows on the network are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to Fresh Air at 5, the podcast. I'm your host, Bryon Carpenter. Fresh Air at 5 is my regular attempt to exercise by walking about my neighborhood, to take in podcast content, then reflect in an unedited video, which I finally post to my Twitter channel. This podcast will be a regular collection of the audio from these selfie videos. You can follow me on Twitter at FreshAirAtFive or check out my website, BryonCarpenter.com, for other content I have created and collected. Hey there, welcome to episode 21 of Fresh Air at 5. The podcast. And in this episode, we're going to listen to a lot of different stories that I tell about my listening this past week. I mean, in the past, I'm saying in the past, you're going to hear them in the future right now, but they've already been recorded because I recorded them about a week and a half ago. Thanks for jumping in. Thanks for participating. And you know, I'm past that milestone of episode 20. And thank you for all of you who participated and shared your voice so that we could expand and amplify what is going on here in the podcast space and with each other. Thanks so much. Have a fantastic day. Enjoy the rest of the podcast. Episode 21 coming up. Hey PLN, it's May 17th, 2021, and wow, here we are halfway through May, and we're getting close to the end of the school year. Some of you are done at the end of this month. Others of us are done at the end of next month. But that's all good because we're getting closer to being done, and we are making an impact in our students' lives. Remember that. That's why we're in this thing, because we are there to make a difference for our students. I'm seeing that every day. And in different ways. Doesn't mean that it's not hard and tiring, but it is rewarding to see the lights come on. All right, this morning as I'm out walking, I listened to episode 117 of the Leader of Learning podcast with Dr. Dan Krynas, and he talks with Debbie Tannenbaum about her leadership journey and her role in her school as a tech coach and how she leads in an unofficial title way people and inspires and empowers them to move forward. And so Debbie, thanks for your work. I've listened to you a few times on different podcasts, and Dan, I appreciate your podcast as you provoke us to think about how we make a difference in our spaces. And it's important that we share what we're doing and how we're doing that. And so one of the ways that I'm sharing and being brave is that I've got this podcast that comes out of these Twitter snippets that I put out every day as I walk, and I listen because for me, I agree, Debbie, there's so much to take in, and if you don't have a place to record your learning, then you're going to forget some of that learning. And this is how I go about doing that. So I can go back to my show notes even and just go, what was I thinking about that week as I do this? And so then I put them out on Twitter, and then I build my podcast out of that content. So I just passed episode 20. You're going to be hearing episode 20 this coming Friday. And I have requested for some to put their voice into episode 20. So there's a place that you can send me a video and do so. Direct message me if you like it. I'll send you more information. Thanks, Debbie. Thank you, Dan. And Debbie, I'm going to pre-order your book because it's available now to pre-order. Bye-bye. One more thing for May 17th, 2021. Teachers on Fire Spark episode 193 is called Passion Projects Remind Us What School Can Look Like. And awesome, Tim, I thank you for sharing your learning journey in this, as Tim Cavey is a teacher and vice principal and has engaged in just bringing passion projects to his class. And listening to that list that you just read off in that Spark post is incredible, because it talks about all the various and different things that students can bring and share. Some of them are smaller and some of them are bigger, but the whole point is that they are doing it themselves and learning so that they can, make a difference in the world. Thanks for giving them that space and the latitude to do some things. I'd totally be interested in seeing how you set that up so that I can share that in my space over here in Abbotsford. So we got to chat sometime about that. I'm looking forward to, just watching it change. And I've found that I've done a lot of projects this year, but they haven't been project-based learning as such. It's been more, here, let's work on this task for a little while, and we're going to have a product at the end that we're going to share in our school newsletter. And having an authentic voice is important, because if without that authenticity, it just becomes a dumpster project. And, teachers, we are very good at that. We have been very good at that. We need to stop doing that and having students create things that have lasting value. All right. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon. Okay. Bye. One more thing for May 17th, 2021. Do you have your joke of the day? Do you need a joke for today? Well, I've got a spot you can go take a listen. Go to Knock Knock Who's There podcast with Chris and Miles. And today's joke is about blankets. It's episode number 34, and it made a smile on my face. So you need a joke of the day because you're having a meeting, you're having class, something like that. Go take a listen to Knock Knock Who's There podcast with Chris and Miles. Have a great day. Oh, and subscribe because Miles needs it. It's awesome. Fantastic. Bye-bye. Hey, PLN, it's Tuesday, May 18th, and today is my mom and dad's wedding anniversary, so happy anniversary, mom and dad. And I'm out for Fresh Air at 5 right now, and it's a beautiful morning. It's was supposed to be raining, so when it's not raining, it's beautiful. So it was going to be beautiful even if it was raining. So get outside. What are you doing for yourself today to refresh yourself? I'm out walking right now, resetting my brain, doing some learning and doing some reflecting right now. So this morning, as I turned on my podcast, I turned on 3 Caffeinated Coaches with Becky Collin and Shannon Moore. And thank you, ladies, for your podcast this morning. Georgina Dean wasn't in this episode, but they were talking on episode 10 of the 3 Caffeinated Coaches about the power of the pause. And I heard about this yesterday as Tim Cavey and I were chatting on Instagram Live about what he was listening to, and he actually brought this to my attention. So thanks, Tim, from Teachers on Fire, for sharing your thoughts a bit about with me about the power of the pause. And I took a listen this morning. So also congratulations, ladies, on episode 10. You've hit a milestone, you double digits and the number 10. So fantastic. Okay, the power of the pause. You talked about processing pause, personal pause, and relational pause. Not in that order. But you talked about the various ways that, as teachers, we have a pause in class to allow students to process, or we do things with our students. But how important is that as adults when we get in a group and we're all, high-firing, super-powered people that, have confidence, and who do you talk a lot? I talk a lot. Well, part of the reason I'm doing this right now with my Fresh Air at 5 is because I like to reflect and talk. I don't like to write, I like to talk. So I'm a talker, and I have to think about this as I get into meetings, that I don't dominate the conversation and, get uncomfortable with the pause that's there, that happens. There's the relational pause as well, that when tensions arise, I'll be right back. One more thing for May 18th, 2021, as I'm still talking about the 3 Caffeinated Coaches, episode 10, Becky Collin and Shannon Moore talking about the power of the pause. The relational pause, when there's tension in a relationship, and it could be between colleagues, between spouses, between your friends, that how we tactfully take a moment of a break so that we can figure out how to deal with the tension. If we are always in there fighting and just working at, working, that we don't stop to reflect and take a step back to go, okay, what's the important parts here? What are the unimportant parts? And what am I going to do about that? So that is more about the relational pause, a whole lot more in your episode. So take a listen to this episode 10 of 3 Caffeinated Coaches. Then there is the personal pause. And this is something that I have started to do more intentionally for myself. I am a worker and I work hard and I don't stop sometimes, but I ran into the book Balance Like a Pirate by Sarah Johnson, Jessica Cabine, and Jessica Johnson that I read about 3 years ago. And they talked about the balance between our personal, professional, passion, and positional lives, and personal is in there, and keeping that in balance with the other things is important for our balance in our life. And I started walking to get some exercise for myself and be feeding into the personal part of myself. So taking those pauses in me, getting out in the morning and pausing and being away from others and by myself is really, really important for me. Being an extrovert, I do need time by myself. And I've recognized that just because I'm an extrovert doesn't mean I can just be with people 24/7. I like to be with people probably 22/7. Give myself some time in a day to pause and take care of myself. So those are some things I've been thinking about as I've been walking and listening this morning. And thank you, ladies, for your work. Congratulations on episode 10. That's fantastic. I heard your first episode on January 6th when yours dropped the same day that mine did. Happy day. Bye-bye. One more thing for May 18th, 2021, as I'm wrapping up my Fresh Air at 5 walk this morning. I had to go looking for the Good News, Brad News show because it wasn't in my Apple podcast player. And so Brad and I chatted about this a little bit, but it's not getting there from Anchor like it should. So he's having a difficulty with that. So if you're looking for his podcast, go jump over to Anchor FM directly or go over to Teach Better podcasts on the Teach Better site or jump into Spotify. And there's other places and ways that you can catch up with Brad and the Good News, Brad News podcast. So, Brad, congratulations on episode 20. It's another milestone as we step into the next decade of podcasting together. That is the next into the 20s. And I'm dropping episode 20 this coming week, and you just did this past Monday. And so it's fantastic to see that we're continuing to do this thing. It's not the easiest thing to do, but it's very rewarding, and I appreciate your feedback and your engagement in the podcast community and making a difference and bringing encouragement to this podcast space. Okay, on to episode 20. And what's episode 20 about? Episode 20 of the Good News, Brad News podcast has Alex Mafen-Peary, who is an English language arts teacher, and I believe she's in the library space in her school, and works with middle school students and draws students in to become non-reluctant readers and to amplify the value of reading. Well, Alex, I'm going to say it right here. This guy is not much of a reader yet. I have been a bit, but it's been a real struggle for myself. I'd rather watch something, listen to something, and that's why podcasting space has really been important to me. And, does an audiobook count as reading? I'm not sure. But thank you, Alex, for your inspiration and your thoughts on reading and bringing a story to children and students and adults alike and modeling that behavior. Thanks so much. Have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday, and we'll see you guys. Bye-bye. Hey, PLN, Wednesday, May 19th, 2021, and I'm out here for Fresh Air at 5, getting some light rain right now, and I had to wear my toque because it's a bit damp and cool right now in May, and we've had temperatures down to 6 and 5 degrees Celsius overnight, which is, that's like spring weather, winter weather here, and it's been chilly, so looking forward to it warming up later in the week. All right, this morning as I'm out walking, I listened to Overthrowing Education. Can't recall the episode number, but it was guest Tara Martin, who is the author of Cannonball In and Be Real, which are her books about relational work that we do with students and others, and as well as Cannonball In, which is her metaphor about jumping in and getting at it and trying. So Bathsheba, thank you for having Tara on your show. It was inspiring to listen to Tara, you tell your story about Cannonball In again. I heard it a couple years ago, I think, and was inspired then. But you know, it means more now because I've had a whole lot more life come at me and having to try and do and push and get started with things. And as I started my podcast, that was a Cannonball In, and I was, encouraged into the pool by my Edu podcast dad, Chris Nessie, as he encouraged me and said, you can do this. And Tim Cavey was there alongside, encouraging, saying, just give it a try. And so I got going, and I'm loving this journey. This is episode 21 that this segment will come out on next week on Friday. So I'm excited about that. And Tara, thanks for your story about Be Real and your vulnerability of you growing up. I believe that that's an important part of who we are as educators. We cannot ignore the past. We cannot ignore our educational experiences that we've had as we have grown up, because those can and need to shape our moving forward, because our past is who we are. It gives us context. It gives us that, but we're not stuck in the past. We need to cannonball in to new. Have a great day. Bye-bye. One more thing for May 19th, 2021. As I'm wrapping up Fresh Air at 5, I chimed into the Easy Ed Tech podcast with Dr. Monica Burns. And this is my first time, I believe, Monica, of listening to your podcast. So I was glad to be welcomed, and I know you put out good content. I just hadn't listened to your podcast before. I've been in contact with you and checked out your blogs and other learning resources that you provide, and you do a great job of bringing the action into the classroom so that it's palatable and step by step, and I really appreciate that as I'm learning new things. All right, so this morning, as I'm listening to episode 116, okay, I probably got that wrong, but it's the one where you talk about Instagram Reels, an easy way to bring ed tech tips and share ed tech tips. And you know what? I am going to admit it right here. I am not an Instagram post guy. I'm not an Instagrammer. I use Instagram because it's a necessity almost today. And I get on Instagram Live with Tim Cavey every Monday-ish, and we talk about life and technology and about learning. And so I am there. I do have an account. And but as far as Instagram Reels, okay, as I started listening, I thought you were talking about stories. And stories, I think, are the little button at the top of my Instagram site where people post little things and you can watch little stories. And I believe, from what I hear here, that Instagram Reels are a different thing. Monica, thank you for walking me through this, that I can start approaching Instagram Reels as another medium for sharing my ed tech tips. Do lots of training with people, and this would be probably a good place to store some of that content in short, quick tips. Appreciate it. And there's a connection to the last podcast I listened to, the word real. And Tara Martin talked about her book, Be Real, in Bathsheba Frankel's Overthrowing Education. And so, yes, there's a connection today. Have a fantastic day, people. Bye-bye. Hey, PLN, May 20, 2021, and I'm out here for Fresh Air at 5 this morning, and it's a beautiful day. Sun is coming up, and it's crisp, 4 degrees Celsius. What is that? Isn't it spring here? Should be warmer. All right, on this episode, or this segment of Fresh Air at 5, I am reflecting on the listening that I just did with Jake Miller. Sorry, I'm huffing and puffing. I just come up the hill to the flat where I can record, and I'm still out of breath, so I gotta work on my recovery time. All right, back to what I'm listening to. I listened to Educational Duct Tape with Jake Miller, episode 60. That's regular episode 60. I don't know. Jake, you got all these numbers. You got your bonus episodes, your regular episodes, all these episodes that are going on. And I don't know. It's episode 60 for me. I like the regular episode. There's all the bonus stuff, which is great, but I'm going to stick with episode 60. Okay. He talked on episode 60 with Sam Carey, who is the founder and author of the new EdTech Classroom. I think I got that right. And it's a YouTube channel that Sam has, that he started putting out video content about EdTech tools and how to integrate them into our classroom. We are inundated and flooded with EdTech tool videos of, you can do these amazing things. You know, in the back of the day, I used to watch commercials of, you know, the Lego and the Hot Wheels, and I would see these engaged kids playing in their backyard. But you know what I never always missed was how to get to that stage. You go buy the Hot Wheel, then you got to get the excavator, and you got to build the dirt piles, and you got to get the camera shots and all this stuff, and it was never there. So Sam has his YouTube channel where he integrates instructional methods and results with the EdTech tools so that we can see them all in one spot. Sam and Jake talked about a plethora, and those capital letters on that word, because there was a lot of content. I can't go over all of that, but I'm gonna look into the new, or to the active learning site, and see how I can dig into that. And just out of this one episode, I got Pro D to last me all summer. Take a look. Thanks, Jake. Thanks, Sam. Bye. One more thing for May 20th, 2021. And Jake, it makes me smile every time I say one more thing, because you commented how you like my one more thing. Well, this one more thing is about your podcast, Educational Duct Tape. And I just want to say that it has had, your content that you produce has had an impact on me over this past couple of years that I've been listening. And the work that you do has brought me joy. It's actually been 3 years that I've been listening, because this is the third season finale coming up that I'm hoping I am possibly included on, which is going to be super fun. So looking forward to that in a couple weeks. But I like your format, how you have a regular program for your podcast. That to me is comforting for someone that likes order, likes regular, and I know kind of about when and where in the podcast I can find things. There's a new thing that you've been doing lately that I really appreciate, and as a podcaster, hearing the summary, or like Che and Pav have at the end of theirs, they've got the swag bag, things that we can take away. And it's a review of the content that was on your podcast. And your review of today's podcast, episode 60 with Sam Carey, started at about 8 minutes to 7.5 minutes left in the podcast. And if you need like a Cole's Notes version of what they talked about, jump there and fast forward. I'm not saying they shouldn't listen. Don't do that. But if you need a quick summary, Jake's been starting to do that at the end of his episodes, and that's a place to get takeaways and little things that you can go, oh, I should go back and listen more to this episode. Jake, thank you for being an educational duct taper and leading the way. And you know, it all sticks, and it's helping stick with this guy. Have a fantastic day. Happy Thursday. Bye. Hey PLN, May 21, 2021. Today is a big day. It's a big day for me. And you know, there's a couple things that are going on that you'll learn about here as we go along. But today's a big day. There's a couple milestones that I'm going to be passing and celebrating today. Today's Pro D for me, so I'm going to be attending the MyPETA conference here. It's an online conference, and doing some learning about education and middle school teaching. So I'm excited about that. That's not why the big day. That's good, but that's not the big day. And so, I'm out here for Fresh Air at 5 this morning, and I listened to episode 66 of My EdTech Life with Fonz Mendoza, and he had guest on Natalie Conway, who is an educator out of Oregon now, and cut her teeth back in Massachusetts back in the day, and has been teaching online since 2014. And yes, Natalie, I can relate to that. I'm an online educator at the Abbotsford Virtual School, here in Abbotsford, BC, and we have been online since probably 2011 when we started our work, and now we are a fully online secondary program. Our middle schools are all online, and we're using technology to deliver education. So fantastic. I feel the pains you feel. I feel the joys you feel. And you know what? We are still educators, just that we're in an online space, not in a physical classroom space necessarily. I'm privileged that in my building we have some physical classrooms where students come and I teach technology, but I teach chemistry, math online. Okay, big day. What's going on with the big day? Well, today is the release of episode 20 of Fresh Air at 5, this podcast. And you're hearing this on the replay, so you'll hear it next week. You hear it on Twitter. But I've got some special guests that have dropped some voice messages, and they are going to be put into the podcast for episode 20. So if you want to hear your voice by noon today, I need to hear from you as a quick voice message about what difference has Fresh Air at 5 made for you and how, what's changed for you. So that's it. That's my big day for right now. Stay tuned in Twitter. One more thing for May 21, 2021. This is a big day, and I said just a moment ago that I've got some friends who have dropped some messages to me, some voice messages, so I can include them in episode 20 of Fresh Air at 5 podcast coming out tonight at midnight. So if you'd like to get your voice onto the pod, please send me that message. You can send it to FreshAirAtFive@gmail.com. And also DM me on Twitter so that I know that you sent it, so I go looking for it. I will keep an eye out. But yeah, if you'd like to get your voice on that, I would like them by noon today so that I can do the editing and touch things up and finish things up. That would be fantastic. If you want more information about that, go to my Twitter profile, and the tweet at the top that's pinned is my call to action for you. Okay, that's my one more thing, and it's a big day because episode 20 comes out, and I've been doing this for 20 episodes of producing the podcast, recording much longer on the daily, but putting it all together so you can have a curated collection at the end of the week. Thanks so much for taking a listen. Thanks for being here on Twitter every day and hearing me talk about one more thing and talk about, all the things that are going on for me. And yeah, it's a big deal for me because I didn't think I'd ever have a podcast, or what do I have to say that people are going to listen to? And I do hear from you guys that it's making a difference for some of you, and I do appreciate that. Pass my pod on. It's a curious, interesting, quirky thing as I just walk along the street, talk about what I've heard, and hopefully it makes a difference for you. Thanks so much. Happy Friday. Peace. Bye. It's a big day. It's a big day. Okay, so why is it a big day? 10,000 push-up challenge with Teachers on Fire. Good to see you. It's a good day because I'm about to go in there right now and drop the last push-ups to make it to 10,000 push-ups for this year. So this is I've been looking forward to this all week and working on making sure I'm staying healthy so I can drop and get at it. So without further ado, here's my 10,000 push-up coming up. I just completed 4 sets of 30, so here's 5 more today, rounding out 10,000. All right, that's it. That was my 10,000th push-up. All done for the challenge. Gonna keep going though. Gonna keep doing more so you can do too. Thanks. Bye. And be encouraged. You're doing great. Thanks for participating in the Teachers on Fire 10,000 push-up challenge. If you're not as far along as I am or others, that's fine. There's still a lot of year left for you to get at it and consistently work on your push-ups. It's a mindset game about getting down on the floor every day and doing some. Do some every day. And so for myself, I worked through shoulder injury this past bit, and yeah, I'm glad I'm able to recover and keep doing push-ups. Have a fantastic day. Bye.
As my one word for 2021 is appreciate, I appreciate you giving me a listen as I've created this podcast experience for you. It's a unique Blinkist or Coles Notes version of the content I take in, like a highlight reel, so that you can hopefully find other interesting podcasts you may not have considered before. I've recorded the specific podcast episodes in the show notes for your learning convenience. Please subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming episodes. And if you enjoy this podcast and its format, share it with someone else. Tweet about your experience or give it a review on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to podcasts. Fresh Air at 5 can also be found on Voice Ed Radio. Your voice is right here, and on the Education Podcast Network, podcasts for educators, podcasts by educators. I hope you have a fantastic day and get some fresh air before the day is out, and take care of yourself because you're worth it.